Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Summa amma ba'd. Fa'uzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Allazi khalaqal mauta wal hayata liyabluwakum ayyukum ahsanu amala wa huwal azizul ghafur. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Alhamdulillah, summa alhamdulillah. On the second day of Ramadan, we are going to start our discussions and continue actually the discussions on Surah Al Mulk, amazing surah. And yesterday we spoke about the hadiths and we spent a lot of time on ayah number 1, but today we are not going to spend that much time. Even though I have a lot of things to share with you and like it's a huge notes, but still we will try to keep it short and go through the amazing things that we don't really speak about and find in the translation. So when Allah says Allazi khalaqal mauta, we remember that Allah still didn't mention His name, so it's still a mystery that who is this Malik, who is like owner of this vast kingdom. And we spoke about how intense it is, how powerful it is. We're not going to spend time about that here. And He is able to do all things, but He still didn't mention His name or anything or any kind of hint who this is. So the mystery is still there. And He says Allazi khalaqal mauta wal hayata. Now the one who created death and life, this is not a normal thing that we hear in the Quran, because Allah would say He gives life, He gives death, but this time He says created life and death, especially created death. Do you ever think of death and life as a creation? We normally don't do that. And the reason we don't do that is because we don't see these two things as something. It's like a phenomenon. You don't say that I created, how should I say, this happening. It doesn't go in that way. And this is similar, that life and death, people will describe it like an incident that happens. Like life is something I gained and death is something I lost. But Mufassiruns explain in several ways, like mind-blowing ways. I'm sorry for the sound. Mind-blowing ways. And Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu actually explains life and death in a amazing way. He relates them to like how death can actually be something which makes you think about a ram, not the computer ram, a ram, the animal. And it is something that nobody cares about unless it dies. And he compares life with a white and black horse. And he says this is something that is only everybody cares about it when it comes to life. Something, okay, in easy language, if something, when people talk about death, it's a negative thing, right? We don't, almost none of us think of death as a positive thing. So when Allah is saying that He created death, like I don't say I created corruption. That's, even if I do create that, I won't say it out loud, because I don't want you to know that I am doing something negative. So people may say, oh, so Allah is talking about that He created death. I thought it was something not good. But Allah, who created evil? Allah allowed evil to happen, right? Similarly, death. But death is not necessarily a bad thing, especially for believers. What is death to believers? Death, the Mufassirun explained that this is, actually you'll find it in the shade of the Quran, that this is actually the process in which a soul is taken, not shade of the Quran, Mariful Quran, a soul is taken from the body to Allah, right? So it's actually a good thing, because in this world there is all this chaos. Just think of the situation now. People are living in fear. And there's all this problem, and fear of what? Why are you afraid of coronavirus? Why are you afraid of COVID-19? Because you will die. And this uneasy feeling of dying, you're always aware. Disease, oh no, death. You don't do this, you don't do that, because you will die. And even if sometimes in your life you care about your food, it is because It will cause, eventually lead to death. So it's something very serious. And that's why this thing becomes something positive if you can overcome it. And how are we going to overcome it? We're going to stay alive? No. We're going to think of this as the end of our journey and start of the new journey, the permanent journey in which there is no sadness, no grief. La taqafu wa la tahzan, right? So that is when a believer thinks like that. All this fear, all this hazan, I had enough. I wish, of course, that doesn't mean go commit suicide. He's not afraid of death, or she's not afraid of death. Yes, it's a thing, it will eventually come. I cannot bring it closer, or I cannot push it far away. It will come when it comes, let it be. I just have to be, what do I have to be? That is coming later. So that's a lot about death, and it's always not necessarily negative. I wanted to explain that part because it's not explained in most places, except in the Tafsirs. And one more thing about, the thing of life and death. Life and death. It seems that these two things are real opposites. Like, one thing is like power, when something comes to life. It's not always about living. When the room is with full of light, we say this room has came alive. Or somebody, there's this whole depressed people, considered desi people who are really depressed right now, and some youngsters start speaking and everybody is laughing, enjoying, and the room has come to alive. He brought the room to life. So life and death, because Allah even says, Anzala mina samai man, He sent water from the sky and it gives life to dead earths. Now does that mean the soil is dead? No, plants come out from the rains and all this thing, and eventually the plants come out, animals feed from plants and we feed from it. So a lot of life is happening because of the rain. So Allah gives life to the earth which was dead. And even the Qur'an gives life to the heart, or the hearts which are dead. This is a beautiful concept, and not to be limited to life and death. That's the point why we spend so many minutes on this issue, life and death, not to do injustice to this verse. And He created this thing, because you can be a Malik, you can be this amazing. Now we are making connection with the first ayah, the previous one. So you can be a great Malik, a great king, Hitler, Pharaoh, whoever. When death comes, is that king the king anymore? Are you any of the people of Pharaoh afraid of the death Pharaoh? No, his grave will come and punish us. No. Once they're dead, they're dead. But recall that Allah said Tabarakallazi, and we spoke about how Tabaraka is always more than what we think. Life and death, these things are beyond Allah. Allah is not, this is something He created. It's not something that He has. He created life and death. This absolute might that He is ever living, but He created things which are not ever living. That's something also to be concerned for someone who is that Malik, who has power over all things, happens to be also someone who created life and death. And by the way, if death is the reason why all kings end and all the reigns end, isn't that also implying that on Allah's hand all the kings are there, whether it be human kings, any kind of kingdom, even among the jinns, it is on Allah's hand, right? Because whenever He gives death, they're done. The kingdom ends. But His kingdom doesn't end. So that's one more thing I wanted to add. And so Allah continues. لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ amala. لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ. So the grammatical things we will have to consider here is, of course, I want to add about the grammatical thing along with the translation, so that He may test which of you are best in deeds. That translation is not correct completely, because when you translate best, this is a superlative, it's a tafdeel, it requires a lam at ta'rif. So if Allah would have said liyabluwakum ayyukum al ahsanu amala, then the translation would have given the best. But Allah didn't add the lam tarif. There is no al, it's just ahsanu amala. And also liyabluwakum, this is actually a jar majroor compilation, and there is lam ta'lil here, the liyabluwakum, so that he may test all of you. And what does that mean? That also means that the thing he mentioned just right before, that he created life and death, so that, no doubt, so that, certainly for extreme, like there's the connection is made with this liyabluwakum ayyukum ahsanu amala, who is better in deeds, not best. And this is very important, because when we think about the best, this is something that is a means to an end. Once I'm the best, you cannot be better than the best. You can't say more best. Doesn't make sense. But if we are saying better, is there any end? I can always be better. You can always be better. She can always be better. When the thing of, and also when somebody is the best, there can only be one best. Those two are the best. Not really. Best will actually mean one. And it creates a different kind of mentality. Oh, I have to be the best one, so I have to stay like in the masjid forever in my life, not doing anything, because I have to be the best. No. So, but better says, I used to pray salah and I used to get distracted, but now, today, I'm not getting distracted. The next day, I tried to not get distracted, but now I don't get distracted at all. Next day, I used to pray only like for the fear of Jahannam, but now I feel like I pray because I owe to Allah. Like, this is the least I could do. As days are going by, we are getting better in deeds, in intentions, everything. But the thing Allah focuses here is deeds. Ahsanu amala. By the way, He doesn't say aksaru amala. The one which of you are more in deeds. That would have been like, hey, so this person died, and he was 20, and he prayed 5 rakats, but I am 40, so my salats are more because I live longer. So if you have that, then I win. No, not aksanu amala, ahsanu amala. So who is better? So somebody could be praying a lot more than you. You pray for 10 minutes, that guy prays for like 1 hour. But when you pray for 10 minutes, actually it doesn't make sense that he prays for 1 hour. But it could be like he's praying extra with the speed of light, and he has no intention and knows nothing what he is doing. That it could be the case, or she. But this person is praying maybe 30 minutes, half of what that guy or she is doing, but they are understanding what they are saying. They're full. Sorry about that. And they have full attention. They're not distracted. Least they are not doing it for showing it to anyone. That guy who prays for 1 hour, maybe like 1 hour prayer right over here. Any autographers here, But this guy who prayed for 30 minutes or she who prayed for 30 minutes, this is solely for the sake of Allah. Now, if you count who's more, 1 hour is more. But who's ahsan, who's better? The 30 minutes better. And that's what Allah will count. So that's important. The part and the reference I told you is that it would have been an ism tabdil if there was an lam tarif, there was an al. But there isn't any al. So that isn't the case. This is not something I came up with. This is actually discussed by the scholars, mufassirun, and I'm just implying the message. Now we continue about the rest of the verse. Okay, liyabluwakum ayyukum ahsanu amala wa huwal azizul ghafur. Wa huwal azizul ghafur. This is a hal, jumlatul hal. In simple language, this will be an answer to a how. Jumlatul hal will be an answer to a how. And the wow here is the Wow of Halia. Whatever, ignore it. The thing is, if it is giving answer to how, what do I have before? So that he may test you, he may test which of you are better in days. How is he going to test us? Azizul Ghafur. One thing about the grammar again, I'm sorry, I keep bringing the grammar things, that's the thing that is making all the difference. Ghafur, forgiving, Ghafir, forgiving. No, Ghafur is different. It's a mubalaga. A mubalaga in simple language, it's a hyperbole, it's extreme and continuous. So Ghafir, the normal Ghafir, and Ghafur with the wow, with the fa'ul pattern is not the same. This Ghafur is saying continuously, excessively forgiving. By the way, which is not normal for a Malik who is so awesome. Like, the mulku samawati wal ard. And here, Tabarakallazi biyadihil mulk wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. You would expect someone with so much might be okay. If you don't follow me, khalas, you're done. But he is Aziz al-Ghafur. And the Aziz, the Mufassirun refer mostly that this is actually his might against, might in retribution against anybody who disbelieves. Aziz, it's there. But Aziz can also be in the positive sense that when he rewards us for the deeds, it will be Aziz, it will be Azim, it will be great, because he is Aziz. Because if a king is wealthy, his reward will be like wealthy. If a king himself is poor, what reward will he give me? Because he himself is poor. So that meaning, the positive sense can also be there, because Allah put those two words in together after the test word, right? So we have to consider both sides, both the positive side and the negative side. The negative is there in all tafsirs, but the positive is not highlighted always. So we have also the positive side. And the Ghafur, so when it says extensively forgiving, this is not only a reason of lots of hope. Even if I mess up again, I will try not to, but I may mess up. We human beings may mess up. He is indeed Ghafur. He is Ghafur. And there is always hope. And if somebody is disbelief and he sees or she sees Aziz, oh my God, I'm finished. Allah says, relax. He is also Ghafur. Even if you did all sorts of things before, now you can just return back. So he's Ghafur. Beautiful. And we already made the connection with the last ayah that if he is indeed so mighty, it was unexpected that that same person, because most time if somebody has a lot of power, they are arrogant, and the least is they are forgiving, right? But the Muluk, who is Malik, who is still a mystery because Allah still didn't say who it is, it seems that even despite of all his might, he is Aziz, which matches, but he's also Ghafur. And that's why the Ghafur is Mubalaga. You don't expect it, but Allah puts in Mubalaga, there's no doubt. Not only is he Ghafur, he is Ghafur. He is extensive on it, he is forgiving. I do lots of sin, I did lots of sins. Ghafur. By the way, this is different from Afa. There's another word for forgiveness, Afa. In the translation, you will see same, forgiveness. But Afa means forgiveness for which you have I forgive that person. I'm not in my heart saying, why did I forgive him? I completely forgive from heart. Some people say, I forgive you from my heart. People say like that because they want to say that, no, I don't have anything against you. I completely forgive you. That's Afa. But isn't there cases where a mother forgives a child, but I forgive you, it's okay, but I still remember what you did. And maybe 6 months later, don't you remember what you did? I forgave you, but that doesn't mean you will not forget what you did. This is Ghaffar. So forgiveness is there, which is actually covering. So if you cover something, Ghafur, it gives you the meaning of covering. Allah will cover your sins. So if you cover something, the thing is still there, right? It is covered, but it's still there. So this is also at the same time a warning, like, I'm Ghafur, don't forget what you did. So this is also a message to us so that we don't repeat the sins. It's not afa, like Allah will pretend nothing happened. It's Ghafoor. Allah does afa in certain cases, but here it's Ghafoor. So we have to keep in mind that we have to take note of what we are doing. So I think that's all for today. Inshallah, we went to 2 ayats and the grammatical discussions became there wasn't much of it today, but this is the part we focused on because that's actually something that's completely missing in the translation. And I hope you and we were able to benefit from this amazing ayah yet again after the first ayah, which was even like all ayahs are amazing, and I hope we'll unfold so many new things as the other ayahs come. Until then, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.